Ready, go. Sunday, June 25, 2023. Dan Grider, Probable Cause. Glad to have you with us tonight. I hope you can join us in the live chat room. It's always kind of lively in there, and I do appreciate you jumping in and telling me where you're checking in from and saying hello. I try to answer as many of those as I possibly can. It's a lot of fun. The Sunday evening program has grown and grown and grown, and I appreciate that. My goal is to give you the recent general aviation fatals on a timely basis, given once a week. Normally on Sunday nights at about 9 p.m. Eastern. This week's includes a whole bunch of stuff. I am going to give you the summary on who has died the most recently and how they managed to kill themselves. That's towards the very end. This is a very jam-packed session here tonight. I hope you got some popcorn and take a look because this is going to be a long one. First of all, I want to say thank you for watching last week's special Father's Day tribute. That was a special one for me. I had a chance to honor my father, who is still alive, and my mom and dad are doing just fine. My dad is out there gardening and cutting grass every day at age 94, and I appreciate your words of encouragement for him on Father's Day last week. That was all very nice. That video did very, very well, and I sure appreciate you watching. Let's move on to what we've got going on here for tonight.
Well, family members tell me these two men were good friends and experienced pilots who were on their way home when they crashed. They both leave behind young children and countless friends and loved ones. 33-year-old Jesse Buckner and 41-year-old Ben Shreve were close friends with a lot in common. They both grew up in the East Bay, both married their high school sweethearts, and both shared a passion for flying. They were together when Thursday the single-engine Steen Skybolt plane they were in crashed in Solano County, killing them both.
These were good men who always promised to be home for dinner. They didn't take any chances with their lives.
Both men leave behind devastated families.
I don't often get into heavy Part 121 stuff, but I got three of them back to back I'm going to tell you about real quick just because they are interesting and nobody else has talked about them. First of all, at Cathay Pacific Heavy 777 aborted a takeoff just a few days ago in Hong Kong on runway 7 right. The interesting thing about this is they ended up evacuating. The Heavy 777 took off on 7 right. They got up to about 154 knots and then elected to stop. That's a very heavy weight at a very high speed. The crazy thing is that after they elected to RTO, they did not go off the end. Everything is good. You've got smoking hot brakes when you do this. This is a tough maneuver, both for the pilots and for the equipment. This aircraft managed to stop, managed to take the second high speed. Now, what does Captain Hero do with his Heavy 777 after he does this? He elects to taxi back to the gate. What's going to happen to your tires eventually? The tires have these things in them called fuse plugs. The brakes get so hot that instead of exploding a tire, the fuse plugs melt and they deflate the tires if the temperature is too great. The captain steered clear of the runway, took the high speed, and he took his aircraft back to the gate. I'm not sure how, but at some point he initiated and commanded an evacuation. Here's video of the people evacuating. Now, this becomes a very dangerous thing. Your policy and procedure, I flew the 777. I know all about heavyweight RTOs. You disable on the runway, maybe disable after clearing the runway off of a high speed, but you stop the airplane, turn the tiller 90 degrees so the nose can't go anywhere. You don't set the parking brake, and then you evaluate. You bring all your emergency services out to you. Do not take your catastrophe back to the gate, which is what this guy did. He took smoking hot brakes back to the gate where he knew via his brake temperature indicators, he knew he was going to get fuse plugs that are going to melt, and he commanded an evacuation. 10 people injured during the evacuation process. He should have stopped on the runway. Is this a case of inexperienced, young, unqualified crew? I don't know yet. It's China. I don't know if we're ever going to know. All I can tell you is this is poorly handled RTO. Stop your aircraft on the runway, turn the tiller, have everybody come out. Do not evacuate. There was no fire going on after he came to a stop. The sparks that you heard were the sparks and all that kind of stuff during the RTO event. I am astounded over this one. The next one is the Minneapolis-St. Paul event, Delta and American Airlines. This is the pilot got a lot of flack over this for doing the wrong thing. I disagree. This controller, whoever it was, did not see the spacing problem. He sent American around very late, and then the instruction that he issued to American, who he sent around, go around right side. Well, what does that mean? I've never heard go around right side, and the American guy understood it to be go around left side. They didn't even get their act together during the go-around process. Go-around right side is not standard. You can't say that, and you should have never allowed this aborted landing, this rejected landing to occur that late in the game. Let's listen to what American has to say. I'm going to let you listen. First of all, let me listen to the go-around command from the tower. You tell me if you think he said right side or left side. Here it is.
Delta 1163, no delay on the roll. Fly runway heading, runway 30 left, clear for takeoff.
Alright, fly runway heading, clear takeoff 30 left, Delta 1163.
American 2406, clear to land, runway 30 left, traffic's rolling now, 10407.
Clear land, American 2406.
American 2406, go around right side, runway 30 left.
Yeah, 2406 on the go.
Now here's a graphic of the ATC, and I want to thank ATC, this ATC website here, YouTube channel, for depicting this display. This is ATC Communications Explained or something like that. I'll put it in the description so you can see the actual if you want to. Let's listen to what the American Airlines pilot said after the fact. He said, "I thought you said left side." Let's listen to this.
American 2406, I thought you were going on the right side, sir.
You said left side.
So what we're talking about, once again, is industry churn, new instructors, new pilots, new air traffic controllers. This is an ATC error. It shouldn't have happened. Go around right side is not standard. These two airplanes came very close to hitting. We would have had the world's largest in-flight aviation catastrophe if they had touched in flight, and we came within a few hundred feet of that happening. Not enough attention has been given to this one. Our very next one is looming on the future. Oh, yes, it is. We will definitely put two airplanes together in the near future, and everybody is going to die. I don't see how we have a way out of this. New controllers at every position, instruction going on every ATC position, new hires in the cockpits, new hires in dispatchers, new hires in flight attendants, new hires in pilots, and new hires moving up to the captain's seat before they're ready. It is the biggest industry churn I have ever seen. Let's talk about the next one. This happened in San Antonio just a couple days ago. I am very sorry for this loss. An innocent ramp worker sucked into the engine of a Delta A319 as it was taxiing to the gate. I have no idea how this kind of stuff can happen, but another one. We just had one of these about 6 months ago down in Montgomery, Alabama. A female ramp worker sucked into an engine down there. This is the second one now in 6 months. A ramp worker sucked into the operating engine of an aircraft taxiing to the gate. I'm not sure that any policies or procedures were broken. Most likely just an unknowing, inexperienced ramp worker who did not fully understand the suction power of an engine and how far you've got to stay away, and the fact that sometimes the right engine's running, sometimes it's the left engine running. Depends on which engine they're going to shut down. No rhyme or reason. Could be either one. The point is, don't get near any engine with an airplane. If that engine, if you even think that there's an engine running, don't get anywhere near that engine, because it will for sure suck you into that thing. You get within about 3 feet of it and it's over. And I'm very, very sorry for that one. I got a whole bunch of other topics. We're going to get to the general aviation portion of this here in just a second. Hang with me. Here's what's next. I'm going to claim a victory on this. The Advisory Circular 90-66 has to do with communications at non-towered airports. In other words, an airport that does not have a control tower. And AC is an advisory circular. It's advisory in nature. It's not regulatory in nature. It's advisory, trying to tell you what to do. So this history, I'm going to show you the history of this. Here's the first one. Actually, this is the second one. This is 9066A, and it canceled the previous one. But now let's take a look at the next one that came out, 9066B, and it says that it's previously canceled the one before that. But now the one I really want to talk about is 9066C, and here's what it says. It previously canceled the page on 9066B. Let's take a look at what 9066B used to say. It used to say, pilots are reminded that the use of the phrase, any traffic in the area, please advise, is not a recognized self-announced position and or phrase and should not be used under any condition. Any traffic that is present at the time of your self-announcement that is capable of radio communication should reply without being prompted to do so. Well, they changed that. Let's take a look at the next one. This one just came out a few days ago. This is AC 9066C. Guess what they omitted? They omitted that paragraph. Why? Because there's a difference between making a blanket position report and initiating communication. You have a headset and a radio and you're flying around. You should initiate communication. Work it out with the other guy. Even if you have to say, hey, pal, where are you at? Use anything non-standard that you want to so that you can initiate communication. I would try to keep it as professional as you can, but you don't have to be a Top Gun Air Force pilot and use Air Force jargon. Talk to the other guy. Just say, hey, that's a nice looking airplane. Do you want to go first or do you want me to? Something very simple like that. I'm on the downwind also. Do you want me to extend for you? Work something out. It involves communication. The FAA's stance that at non-control tower airports that you should make position reports only is completely insane. I fought hard for this. I have published this and showed examples of this. Finally, the FAA, listen, I think I'm going to claim a win on this because I put such pressure on this thing. I made such a stink about this. They finally changed the advisory circular and removed those words. I think we're on the right track here. I want you, as you're flying around in your tiny little itty-bitty fledgling airplane, initiate communication with the other guys that are out there. Frequency congestion is a problem. Keep your transmissions short. Don't talk about your dog. Don't talk about your girlfriend on the radio. Keep all that stuff out of it. But you initiate whatever communication is necessary to negotiate what you want to do and work it out with the other guy. It's real easy, and that's all I'm asking for. This thing it's a beautiful rendition of AC 9066C, and they removed it, and I am glad. You know, I did 3 parts on November 611 Victor Golf. That's the citation with 5 on board, single pilot. Jeff was flying the airplane and it crashed in Virginia. That's the one they scrambled the F-16s for a few weeks ago. I did a 3-part deal on that. You do your own conclusion on that. I talked as much as I can about all that and what I think might be related to it. YouTube is very, very limiting on what I can and cannot say. All I'm going to tell you is that I'm not a conspiracy guy. I just see that there is a huge correlation in recent years between pilots and incapacitation in flight. I want you to go back and look at part 3 of that specifically because of the new FAA portal that has been designed to capture pilot incapacitation in flight data. It's brand new, and now they're capturing it because there are so many of them. It's out there. November 611, Victor Golf, part 1, 2, and 3 are staying up. I am not taking those down, but it has to do with the number of cycles a pilot's body goes through. Remember, every time a pilot flies in a pressurized airplane, he goes up and he's subjecting his body to pressurization, depressurization, up, down, up, down. It's the act of bending a fork 50 times until the fork breaks. Bending a pilot's blood system, arteries, and hearts, and weak things. Your heart can take a lot. If it's compromised due to some other factor, I'm not exactly sure that you can actually take that. It's the exact same thing on the sub. I did one short little video on the sub that we lost here last week with the 5 people on board that thing, the submersible. I think the whole thing was a joke. I cannot believe that 5 people in their right mind boarded that thing and bolted the hatches in and pushed. There ain't no way you'd ever find me in that contraption going over the edge. No. And I think all the jokes and memes, I am very sorry for the loss of life, but at some point you got to say, what were these people thinking? I think I found the main reason that this thing sunk so fast. I'll put a little graphic up here right now. I think I have finally discovered the reason that this thing sunk as fast as it did, and here it is right here. I owe an apology off of Flying Wild Alaska. Some of you people really dug in deep over this thing, and I'm not afraid to tell you that this was an error. I did not mean for this to come out like this. All I was doing is showing the engine data currently on file with the FAA. The type of engine that Jim had previously was the other lower horsepower engine in Flying Wild Alaska. That's Jim up in Alaska that died. Him and his guide died getting them out of that. And I've got a little bit more information on that story. I'm going to tell you, yes, he did have the upgraded, more powerful engine. I never said that aircraft was over gross. I simply said that it was overloaded. There's a huge difference between over gross and overloaded. I'm going to show you a video right now of another Cessna 180 similar with the same engine trying to make a takeoff. This guy never aborts his takeoff, and he thinks that he can get this thing airborne before the trees come up. Same airplane, same engine. Check this out. So here's the rest of the story as I know it. I'm not going to do another video on this until the NTSB preliminary comes out, but some unusual factors. First of all, there's no information. They've not published a lat long. There's no pictures. There's no video. I have 30 information from people who did see the crash site. And the interesting thing is that of all the people that Jim knew up there, all the fixed-wing airplanes and all the connections he had, when this crash came in, the call came in, who launched in their fixed-wing airplane to go out and help Jim? Who is it that could land their fixed-wing airplane into the same spot that Jim did to go help Jim? The answer, zero. Nobody could get an airplane in there, and certainly nobody could get an airplane back out. It was warmer than standard that day. Apparently, from the information I have, it's not possible to get an airplane back out of there. And he had an extra person plus fuel plus X amount of bear meat getting out of there. The mission had been to get up here and pick up the last two remaining guides. So he flew in kind of empty, picked up bear meat and a guide to try to get them back out of here. There's two types of bear hunting. There's bear hunting in the spring and bear hunting in the fall. In the fall, the salmon are running, so the bears are down there closer to the river trying to catch salmon. This time of year, the bears are up in the higher country and they're after berries. The guides have to go looking for the bears. They go up into the hill country. Guess what? Wherever they drop this bear at, that's where the bear stays. How are you going to move a bear? A bear could be anywhere from 500 to 800 pounds. They're going to field dress it, do the best they can. Now they pick up their sat phone and they call Jim and say, here's where we are, come and get us. We've got this gear, we've got our rifles, we've got this bear, we field dressed it, here's where we are. They cannot tote this field dressed 400 pounds of remains down to the river or up to a runway. There is no runway. It becomes Jim's job to get his aircraft to where they dropped the bear at or as close as he could to it. I think Jim was a great guy and a very talented pilot. I think we're going to find that there's nothing more happened here than there simply was not enough runway given the existing temperature and weight conditions. The airplane simply failed to gain altitude sufficient to clear any objects, and I think they simply flew it into, I'm not suspecting any kind of a mechanical issue. Jim himself said this is a very dangerous, risky. They're living on the ragged edge doing this kind of stuff. I think he's been lucky many, many times in the past. It's not for me. The people who fly and operate there in Alaska are some very talented, wholesome people. They're hardworking Americans, and I appreciate their spirit going and doing that kind of stuff. I think in this case, with all due respect, I think Jim just cut this one way too close. We're going to find out. It's very unusual that the only aircraft that was allowed to go in there was a turbine helicopter. It came from Nome. The guy's name that flew that in there was Pedro. Pedro flew the turbine helicopter back into the site numerous times, getting people in and out. Getting the bodies out of there was all done via turbine helicopter. There was no fixed-wing aircraft ever transited that site after the accident happened, and that's my best update for right now. I'm very sorry. My apologies for the incorrect engine information that I displayed on a previous video. I I want to admit that information only came via the FAA website, and I was not trying to say that that's what he had. I'm just saying that that's what the FAA had listed for his current engine as of that date and time. Next, we're going to talk about FAR 6156, the flight review. Emphasis on the word review. It's a review. It's not an evaluation. I want you to take a look at this thing that I've got up on the screen here. I built this chart just to show you the evaluation process. Look at all the other things that we have in evaluation. On the left-hand side, an aircraft has to have an evaluation, and it's required annually. Continuing standards annually. An aircraft, an engine, a propeller, a pilot medical for first, second, or third class has to be evaluated periodically. An airplane type rating, if you have a type rating, your type rating has to be evaluated annually. Any 121 pilot or 135 pilot has to be evaluated, not reviewed, evaluated annually. A flight attendant, a doctor, a CPA, everybody has to have an annual or periodic evaluation. The GA pilot has to have an evaluation in order to get a pilot's license. Once a GA pilot gets a pilot's license, he is never, ever subjected to evaluation ever again. A flight review is not an evaluation. Even though the word evaluation is in the advisory circular that recommends an evaluation, it is not a check ride. And they tell you it's not a check ride. It is not an evaluation. And that's what our problem is. We have people out there who got a pilot's license at some point who should no longer be flying. We don't have a way to screen and catch those people and filter them out of the system that should not be flying. What's my main beef with this? My main beef is that the general public is in danger because us as private pilots are crashing our airplanes onto public property where there's people, innocent citizens, innocent children, school kids. Our airplanes are raining out of the sky with fire and explosions. I'm going to give you a specific example from last week here. The doctor up in Wisconsin, this doctor's name was Dr. Bill Bullholz, age 73, crashed his Mooney onto the soccer field. We're very lucky that there was nobody on that soccer field that day. No kids out there because he scattered fire and debris all down that soccer field. Bill was not competent or qualified to be flying his Mooney IMC with that engine and everything. Bill got that airplane into the clouds and promptly got disoriented and drove it straight into the ground, and he never knew what hit him. There was no failure in that airplane. This is purely incompetence. If he had taken an evaluation, he would not have passed his evaluation. I don't think that Bill could have passed an honest evaluation, a check ride, a recheck ride evaluation. Maybe he's still okay as a day VFR pilot, but not IFR. I think we should take a look at this. Let's take a look at the next one. This one really hurt my feelings. This one happened down in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, just a few days ago. This is a Piper Apache Geronimo. This guy made a takeoff runway 36 and he crashed it onto a football field. Everybody said, "Yay, you did a good job." His name was Kim. It's a guy. He's let me take a look here. It's Kim Gibson, age 69, 4307 Papa. He makes the takeoff. He gets his airplane airborne up above the tree line, loses his left engine. The left engine didn't quit. It just rolled back. His wife was watching on the ground. She watched black smoke started coming out of the engine. It's still running. It's probably running just crazy rich and not producing power. This airplane slowed from 100 to 90 to 80. As it did, it pulled to the left. Look at the amount of space that he had straight ahead. He could not even keep it going straight. This airplane hit where it hit by pure dumb luck. The procedure on any twin: engine failure, put the gear up, identify, verify, feather, climb out at blue line, climb straight ahead. I've owned lots of these Geronimos before. This airplane is a wonderful airplane that'll climb 600 feet a minute. He was by himself, lightly loaded. This airplane would have gone straight up single engine. He didn't do one single procedure. He held onto the yoke and rode it straight in. The reason I can tell is because the right engine propeller was curled. It was making full power at impact. The left engine was not. He lost the left engine. He did not do the procedure. He was not qualified to fly that multi-engine airplane at the time of that liftoff. He has not had a check ride. If he had taken a check ride and somebody had closed his throttle and simulated an engine failure on takeoff at that runway the day before, he would not have passed. There's our problem. How can we find the people who can no longer have the skill set or the knowledge or the ability to fly their aircraft? How are we going to keep them from crashing into schools? This particular aircraft crashed into a football practice field that Monday through Thursday had been full of kids, middle schoolers practicing football in morning football workouts every day, Monday through Thursday. On Friday, they gave him the day off, so there was nobody out there. Boy, did we get lucky, because this guy came through the fence right onto the 50-yard line and dumped his airplane anywhere. The good news is that Kim Gibson is going to be fine. His insurance is going to take care of his airplane, and he's going to get a new one and all that kind of stuff. I'm kind of disappointed that we have pilots out there can't handle a simple day VFR engine failure, and that airplane, he was not flying it. That airplane flew him to the scene of the accident, and he was a passenger. It hit because it hit. He never even had the presence of mind to close his own throttle. He couldn't keep it going straight. It pulled left, and yes, I'm fired up about that. How many more guys we got out there right now that cannot pass an evaluation? Should we do something about this before our politicians do it for us? I think we probably should, because it's coming. Politicians are going to get involved in this. If we keep on crashing our airplanes into public land and into schoolyards, politicians are going to get involved in this, because this is our missing link. Our GA pilots do not have any kind of a continuing evaluation, and the biennial every 2-year flight review is a complete joke. I'm sorry. I've got a letter that I wrote to that I'm using as a generic document. You can find it on AQP and Coffee. It's a Facebook page. It's a PDF that somebody created and posted on there. I wrote the letter. It's a fill-in-the-blank kind of thing, but it kind of explains the position to politicians on what I think we could do for not very much money and not very much effort. I think we could restore our general aviation quality standards. Remember, FAA is a thing called flight standards. Flight standards are supposed to be even across the board. GA is the missing link. We do not have any evaluation. AQP and Coffee is where you can find that document. I welcome your debate and conversation on that page. I will interact with you on that page as much as you want to. If you've got any good ideas on a better idea on a way to stop this 18 per month general aviation fatal accident rate, I would be interested in hearing your comments. There's a website called Aviation Safety Network. It's one of my go-to websites. It's kind of a wiki-based thing. This thing is fascinating. If you get a chance to get involved and support it, take a look at it. You can also, for free, as you get information, you can update the data. So any N number that you type in, it's going to pull up the ASN report. It's extremely accurate. It's worldwide. It's not just GA. I try to update and add stuff on this thing every now. And then if you want to take a look at the Piper Apache, I provided an update for that just the other day. The update occurs almost instantly, and it shows who updated it. And I'm glad to update a little bit of information on some of these as I'm able to. ASN, Aviation Safety Network. Check them out, and you can see this is where I get a lot of my information from directly, because it happens almost instantly as it happens. Somebody is already dumping that data into the Aviation Safety Network. I want to say thanks again. I'm approaching 100,000 subscribers. I don't really know how that happened. If you want to like and subscribe and set your alerts, the like and subscribe thing is right down here. It's all on you. If you can help push me up over 100,000. And remember, these videos that I do on Sunday night are only on the air for about 6 days. I suggest that you hit like and subscribe and set your alerts. You've got about 6 days to watch this video, and it's going to be gone. So check that out. It's educational material. I put a tremendous amount of time combining, what's the word? Compiling. I spent a lot of time compiling all this information. And as you can tell, I do everything without a teleprompter. I take one shot. I talk to the camera. I talk straight, and I put the whole thing on here. I give you the graphics and everything. I'm approaching 100,000 subscribers. If you can help me, like, subscribe, and set your alerts so that you can see these videos in a timely manner as they come out. I'm going to erase this one in about 6 days, because I'm going to have another fresh set of fatals by the time I do this one next Sunday night. My son Dylan has got a YouTube page. Here it is right here, and I'm going to show it to you here. This is his page, and if you want to follow along, he's learning to fly and doing all his kind of stuff. And I've enjoyed helping him. He's a fledgling YouTuber, but check it out and support him if you can. Just watch some of his stuff. I'm not even sure exactly how that happens. I want to say thank you to my friend Grant and Nadia, who sent me these guitar picks, which is really cool. They made these Dan Grider Probable Cause guitar picks right here, and I got a whole bag. So thanks to my friends. They're down in Florida. They're both pilots. They follow all my stuff, but I now have a bag full of guitar picks. Also, speaking of guitar, we are thinking about having an AQP conference probably in Nashville sometime in the fall. If you would like to attend that, I'm thinking about doing just a weekend where we get together, play music, and talk. We don't really have any agenda, but we eat together, we stay at the same place, have a swimming pool, bring the kids, bring everybody, and we just have a conference where we can pool ideas, talk things over, pretty informal. No conference speaking, big screen projector kind of a thing. Just a weekend where meet and greet where we could all hang out together. I'd like to hear your flying stories, your ideas. I'd like to hear from you on what kind of flying you're doing. I'd like to hear directly from you one-on-one how I could help you better. And I think doing some kind of a conference like that at someplace fun, we got a bunch of banjo people and music people to have some fun with, so we can play music and just have a good time for a weekend. Let me know if you think that's a good idea, or if you would be interested in attending something like that. I'm thinking about putting that together and booking it, and just whatever happens, happens. We'll see. Probably Nashville, Tennessee, where all my music connections are, would probably be the likely location for that. We might even get some Grand Ole Opry tickets out of the deal or something like that. I'll work on it if you tell me that you would be interested in doing that. I appreciate your donations and your support. Airborne Animal Rescue is my animal rescue website. I take donations via any one of these for all this work that I do, and I do appreciate it. Kind of like going to a restaurant and ordering a meal. You probably need to tip your waiter at least 4% like I do at any meal. Well, maybe 5%, something like that. But if you can help me out with support on this, Zelle, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, $1 or $2 doesn't hurt you, but it helps me a lot, because these things are crazy time consuming to put together. They're very expensive. I have to travel a lot to get all this stuff done. Your support means a lot to me, because I am spending like more than 30 hours per week working on these videos and getting this information out there. I think we're having an effect. I think we're changing some things, and I'm very happy with all that. I got to get out of here. I'm going to get this thing edited up and on the air, and I do appreciate each and every one of you for my tiny little itty-bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Griner. Okay, I'm a human being. I totally forgot. The whole purpose of doing the Sunday night thing is to give you this information right here on the screen. Last week, I forgot 202 Golf Mike, the fatal in California. That's the Steen Skybolt. I'll cover that next. I apologize. Let me throw this in here at the very end, amongst all the other things that are in this video. General aviation fatal accidents is my theme here, and this is where I'm going on this little post note to this video. I'm sorry. Just shows you how completely scattered one take I am. I try to do everything off of notes the very best that I can. Talk as fast as I can, try to get it all in there and show you all the graphics that you need. Sometimes I make a mistake, and this is a classic case of omission here. Let's talk about the June fatal accidents. I'm going to put it on the screen here for you right now. We already talked about the Steen Skybolt. These two guys, Ben and Jesse, were very experienced pilots, aviation people, mechanics, everything else. They ran their airplane out of gas. This is 202 Golf Mike. It happened on the 8th of June at about 11:45. Both of them died. They ran their airplane out of gas, and for whatever reason, this airplane was a stall spin. Both of them dead. A horrible story. Let's take a look at a little bit of the excerpt from the newscast concerning these two very fine individuals.
Rain said Jesse had been flying since he was a teenager. He spent several years in the Air Force and was a certified flight instructor and mechanic.
Being in the sky was something that he loved. We all flew with him at some point in his career.
He was just so amazing.
Dean Shreve is Ben's older brother. He said Ben lived in Concord most of his life and was an experienced pilot who managed several airplanes out of the Concord airport.
Everybody knows him, and it was, he was just such an amazing pilot, so it's hard to believe that this happened to him.
Dean said Ben and a couple of pilot friends went in together to buy the aircraft he was in Thursday.
It was just a fun aircraft to fly.
Dean said the two men were flying home from Sacramento when the plane went down. Dean called Ben the go-to guy to call when you needed help and said he loved being a dad.
Continuing on with the rest of the sheet here, we've already talked about the Alaska one here. That's the, I've already gone into detail on that a lot. 91361 is the 180H in Alaska. Now let's talk about the three most recent right here in the red box. November 7628 Yankees, a PA-30, which is a twin Comanche in in Pennsylvania. This is a very low IFR takeoff. Mark LaMantia, age 54. This is his airplane. He took off at 5 a.m. as well before daylight, and he was trying to get out and back on the same day. Low IFR, made a takeoff and did not make it very far. They didn't find the airplane. That was Saturday morning. They didn't find the aircraft wreckage until Sunday afternoon. I don't know yet if it burnt or not, but it hit and scattered twin Comanche pieces all down through the woods, about 100 yards of a debris field. It hit hard. I don't know if he lost horizon or if he had spatial disorientation or if he doesn't look like an engine out deal to me. I looked at the ADSB data. Does not look like engine out. Looks like he simply got disoriented and drove it straight into the ground. I don't know what's Mark's currency and proficiency level was. I don't know whether or not that could have been a factor in this. Probably was. I'm not sure if Mark needed to be out there at night. IMC in the mountains making a takeoff. In these kind of conditions, it was foggy, very low overcast, very low vis that early foggy morning. Ironically, it cleared up when the sun came up and the sun had a chance to burn off a little bit of that thing. Within a couple hours, it turned out to be a nice day. He could have delayed about 4 hours and probably be alive today. I want you to include that in your decision-making process. There's no reason to make a 5 a.m. takeoff in a twin Comanche low vis. There's no reason. I wouldn't do it. I'd call in sick. Don't go do that. Here's the next one. November 308 Echo Delta. This is the little champ of Minnesota. This is a stall spin. Brian Handyside, age 60. 2 employees from Cirrus. I'm going to show you a picture of where Brian lived. Brian was an A&P. He's a mechanic. He was a private pilot. He's an IA, and he's a repairman. He worked for Cirrus. Both guys worked for Cirrus. I think they made a takeoff and made it a little bit to the right. This one is definitely a stall spin. It hit vertical. The debris field on this thing was contained within about 10 feet. There's no airplane parts outside of a tiny little circle. This thing made a nosedive. It's a right turning stall spin. I don't know why. I don't know if they had an engine failure or something else going on, but this was a test flight. This was an aircraft coming out of maintenance. Brian did the maintenance. Brian was the guy taking care of this airplane for somebody else, and this was not his airplane, but he definitely stalled and spun this thing. 2 very experienced pilots and mechanics. It can happen to you. If it happened to Brian, it can happen to you. And that's our whole point here. Here's a picture, and I'm going to show you a quick video of the takeoff from Brian's field here compared to where it ended up. Here's the Google Earth video of that. Very sorry for both these people. Cirrus has already made a statement expressing their condolences to both families, both very fine long-term employees of Cirrus Aircraft, Duluth, Minnesota. The last one is 103 Delta Golf. This is an Avid up in Michigan. The guy's name was Randy Seaman. He was 70 years old. He was flying along with another girl. I'm not sure what they were doing out there flying. Dave VFR. This is at least a float plane, maybe an amphib. I don't know how this happened. The pilot on this thing, Randy, did survive. The female passenger got trapped inside the wreckage and it sank. She died. She drowned in the airplane and they had to swim down to her and cut her loose. Brian was found floating in the water and they were able to pick him up. He'll have a better idea and be able to tell us exactly what happened. A very horrible accident up there. It's a great airplane flying at Lake Michigan. This airport where they're at up there, flying around on those islands up there. I've been up there a lot. This is a fantastic airport. This Beaver Island up there has got a couple runways. Some of the greatest people in the world are Michigan. Let me show you a real quick map of Michigan right here. The Michigan people are really cool. There's some really good pilots. The islands out there are spectacular. I love Michigan in the summertime. Is one of my favorite places to be in the world, not just for the weather, for the food and for the people. Michigan people are extra special. I'm very sorry for this loss of life up there. I hope that this individual is able to recuperate and get well and recover from this accident. So, for the second time, I will truly sign off here now. I got to get this video edited and up and on the air for my tiny little itty bitty fledgling YouTube channel, Dan Glider. Probable cause.